Okay, so how does hypnosis actually work? You will not find this information anywhere else on the internet. This is exactly how your psychology works and exactly how we use hypnosis to change it when absolutely nothing else has worked. So the first thing that you have to understand is the brain's energy conservation cycle. Now, as we evolved during our early development as humans, resources were scarce. Now, the brain is a survival machine, and survival requires conserving energy because energy in the form of calories and nutrients used to be very scarce. It didn't used to be as abundant as it is right now. So the brain, when it was developing, when we evolved into Homo sapiens, it was prioritizing keeping us alive and making use of the limited energy that we had. And so the brain became really good at conserving energy because the highest use of energy is the brain, and particularly when the brain is learning or when it's thinking. The highest energy use is involved in new tasks. And so that's why we have this process of putting muscle memory into action, of making habits, behaviors, and subconscious patterns. We give that all to the subconscious so that it doesn't exhaust us. Imagine if every time you brushed your teeth, it was like learning to brush your teeth for the first time. If you didn't have that pattern stored in your subconscious, every single time you went to brush your teeth, it would be absolutely exhausting. It would be like learning from the start all over again. So we have to make sure that what you're doing in those automatic patterns is what serves you rather than just keeps you alive, because you have to understand that your brain was developed with a survival priority, not a thriving priority, right? So the brain's energy conservation process goes like this. We take anything which we repeatedly do, phone calls, relationships, jobs, interviews, sports, going to the gym, eating, everything that we do regularly becomes a pattern. 99% of your life, 99% of your thoughts are the exact same thoughts as you had the day before, because the brain likes to fire on autopilot. But if you're operating based off your autopilot, you have to make sure that your autopilot is going where you want it to go. Your brain conserves energy by giving your thoughts, giving your thinking over to the autopilot. But the thing is, your autopilot might be going in the complete wrong direction. So if your subconscious is guiding you the wrong way, then the way that we change this is through hypnosis. Hypnosis gets to that layer where these automatic patterns are stored so that we can affect and change these patterns rather than having them hold onto your life, keeping you stuck. And you see, there's actually two parts of your mind, and we have to tap into the subconscious in order to make changes here, because the conscious mind only processes 150 to 250 bits of information per second. The subconscious mind, on the other hand, processes 150 to 250 million bits of information per second. So when you try and use your willpower, when you think about the changes that you want to make, when you tell yourself you're going to do it, the reason you don't is because you're using this teeny weeny tiny part of your mind, the conscious mind, to try and make changes, while the subconscious mind, your automatic mass, everything you're not even aware you're doing, your programming is in the background firing away, potentially in the exact opposite direction. Why do you say you want to get healthier, yet you can't make that change? It's because your subconscious is aimed the other direction. You consciously know what you want, but why don't you have it yet? I help people that have been struggling for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, sometimes decades, with the exact same issue, having known the whole time that they did not want it. Yet why couldn't they get any freedom from it? Because they made a conscious decision, but not a subconscious one. And you see, this is where the subconscious mind begins to come in, because the subconscious is set to filter and to only allow us to achieve a certain amount, whether this be relationships, financial success, physical success. Your subconscious mind is like the filter. And so you have everything that you want to do consciously, but it's actually called the conscious filter. The conscious filter is what is determined to be allowed to pass through into our subconscious mind and therefore acted on. So right now you can see the narrowing of this funnel here. And let's say, look at the width up here. This is you saying, hey, I want to be lean, muscular. And this is your programming going, whoa, bro, you've never been the fit guy. You've always been like kind of there. You've always been a little bit average. So I see your big intentions and I'm just going to filter you down to what is safe, what is comfortable, what we have been programmed to achieve so far. And another example, let's say your financial goal here is to make hundreds of thousands, millions, but all you've ever known is people around you that were struggling to get by. So you have these big goals, you have these big ambitions for your life, but the subconscious mind filters you down and it tells you this is what's realistic. But if you look at the other side, if you look at that filter, once you get out of that filter, there is actually more space. There's more room. Everything you need is already there for you. It exists, but it's just your mind that is trapping you and keeping you small, holding you back from everything you could be instead of everything you want to be. And so here's where hypnosis comes in. The first stage of hypnosis is to recognize the patterns that are playing out in your life. What results have you wanted to change for the longest time, yet you're still living with their consequences? Whatever you are not changing, you are choosing. What is continuing to happen in your life that you do not desire? You see, the way I define addiction comes from Paul Chek, and Paul Chek says that an addiction is any behavior which we repeatedly do that brings about results which we do not desire. Are you repeatedly drinking alcohol, even though it's bringing in results that you do not want? Are you repeatedly going clubbing, getting in short-term relationships, repeatedly find yourself struggling with bills each month? What do you find yourself repeatedly doing, even though it has consequences that you do not desire? And then once you're aware of the patterns that you keep finding yourself in, this is where we actually go into hypnosis. You see, hypnosis is the theta brainwave state. Most of your day, you're operating on beta brainwaves. Beta is not where things change. Beta is the autopilot firing. It's not where you write new programs. It's where the programs that have already been installed are acted out. Now, it's not necessarily a relaxed state, but it's a state of focus. It's a state of not relaxing the conscious mind, but occupying the conscious mind in a way that gets it to just soften that conscious filter for a second to allow us to put new patterns directly into the subconscious, those new desires, those patterns you want to change, rather than just keeping them as thoughts and desires in your conscious mind. This theta state allows us to finally put them in your subconscious, where real change is unlocked. And these new loops, these new patterns allow you to get new outcomes. It's not until you think, feel, and act different. It's not until you are different, you get to be this new version of yourself, that you get to have the results that you've been looking for. And simply, these new thoughts, feelings, and actions create new results until we reflect and redesign your mind the way that you wanted it to be designed, rather than the way that you were raised to have it take action. We want your mind to work for you, not against you. Who would you be if you were truly free?